Good evening, Bhante.
Good evening. Before the start of the session, let us chant Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. All right. Can you hear the traffic outside? No, right? You can't hear anything. I'm asking this every day now. Just
No,
to
we don't hear anything.
all right. Let's get right into it, everyone. We are starting with object, Arammana Pachaya. Right. Aramana Pachaya. Last time what happened is we did not confirm on the revision class, but there were a few people who were waiting. And then, I thought, okay, they're there. So let's do some sort of Abhidhamma discussion. So, just went ahead with it. So we will be covering the same, maybe even more. Let us see. Right, Arammana Pachaya. So before we do move on to Arammana Pachaya, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? Okay, I guess not. Now, Arammana Pachaya, number 2. Right, Arammana Pachaya, number 2. What is Arammana Pachaya? What is Arammana Pachaya? Let us read about it. Arammana Pachaya, page number. Can someone help me out? Here it is. Page number 315. Right. Is this big enough, everyone? Let me make it bigger. All right. Object condition is a condition where a conditioning state as object causes other states. Is a condition where a conditioning state as object. Now that is very important, everyone. Where a conditioning state as object, meaning the conditioning state is the object, aramuna, arammana, causes other states, the conditioned states, to arise, taking it as their object. Do you understand? The object is the conditioning state. The conditioned state arises, taking the conditioning state as their object. Is that clear, everyone? Right? The 6 classes of objects are the conditioning states in this relation. The corresponding chittas and chaitasikas are the conditioned states. Now let us go to the chart. Right? Let us go to the chart. What does it say? So conditioning state, we have to take anything and everything that can be or is taken as an object. Is that clear? 89 chittas, 52 chaitasikas, 28 rupas, nibbana, so all of the paramatta dharmas and concepts themselves, prajnapti. Right? And concepts themselves, prajnapti. Right? Is the object. Is there any question with regards to that? Yes, Damsiri.
Bhante, when we talk about Rupa, Dharma, materiality 28, we learn that water element cannot be considered as an object. because you can't recognize it, or you can't physically feel it. So when you say 28 materiality, is it except the water element?
Yes. Before we go on to that, I'm just going to quickly change my outfit because it's so hot. I might just collapse here. Literally, it's so hot. I'm just going to put my shawl on. Excuse me, everyone. I'm so sorry.
Water element කියන්නේ ආපෝ නේ.
All right. A quick wardrobe change there. Now,
We can't see any change.
that's the mastery of it. Now, okay, Namsari, your question is Apo, the water element,
Yeah.
right? Why is it included within the 28 rupas? Because we can't feel it.
Yeah.
The thing is this. Water element, right? You're speaking from the perspective of Potapa, feeling, right? However, water element through mind can be taken as object, right? Water element through mind can be taken as object, right? Now, if we just go onto this chart here, do you see? By mind only, right? Water element can be taken as object, but not through Pottabha. So yes, you are correct. Through feeling, water element cannot be taken as object. However, through mind, water element can be seen. That is why the water element is included. So at any given point from our time of during samsara as an arahant or otherwise, if we are able to take anything as an object, that is why we take that object, or that is why it is included within the conditioning states. Is that clear?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Anyone else has any questions? Okay. One question which was now with regards to 89, now we see the 89 chittas, 52 chaisikas, 28 rupas, nibbana and concepts. In the conditioned states, let us, yes, you have a question?
Bhante,
Yeah.
it okay? The rupas, the 28 rupas, they say to go to chapter 3, 16. And when you go to 16, it says as mental objects, Sukuma Rupa. 16 Sukuma Rupa, not the 28 rupas. Why is that?
Okay. Sukuma Rupa, what is the question again?
Bhante, in this object condition, they say to go back to chapter 3, 16,
Okay.
which is on page 136. And it's it goes on the mental objects and 16 Sukuma Rupa.
16, number 16. What was the page? Do you have the page?
Page 136.
136. As long as samsara, isn't it? Okay. All right. 136. Arammana. So we have Arammana. 136. Okay, and you're looking at this one?
Yes, mental objects.
Mental objects. So mental objects is sixfold. Mental objects is sixfold. Each of the first 5 objects can be cognized in any of these ways. 1, through its own respective sensitive process. 2, through a mind-o process. And 3, by the process-free chittas occurring in the roles of rebirth, linking, bhavanga, and death. Rebirth, linking, bhavanga, and death. Mental objects, the objects of the 6th class, cannot be cognized at all through the sensitive process. Right? We know that already. Right? It's a mind-o process. Right? They can be cognized only by the mind-o process or the mind process-free chittas that occur independent of the sense doors. We already know that as well. Right? The 6 kinds of object. I'm sorry. Am I going too fast? Am I okay? Is that okay? You want me to slow down? Slow down? Okay. The 6 kinds of objects fall into the category of mental object. Fall into the category of mental object. Dhamma Rammana. Sensitive matter, pasada rupa, is a sensory receptive substance of the 5 sense organs. Right? Prasada rupa. It is 5-fold. Eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, etc. Subtle matter, Sukma Rupa, includes 16 species of material phenomena enumerated below. Among them, water element, Chitta, is a type of mental object. Right? Lettuce?
Yes.
So then, well, okay, we'll read through the paragraph. Through Chitta, though Chitta experiences objects, Chitta in turn can become an object. It should be noted that a Chitta in its immediacy cannot become its own object. For the cognizer cannot cognize itself. But a Chitta in an individual mental continuum can experience earlier chittas in that same continuum, as well as chittas of other beings, right? As well as chittas of other beings. This is known as parachitta vijanana jnana. Yeah? The 52 chaitasikas can also become objects of mind-o process, as for example, when one becomes aware of one's feelings, volition, and emotions. Nibbana becomes object of chittas occurring in the mental process of noble individuals. Both trains and arahants, concepts, the class of conventional realities, things which do not exist in the ultimate sense, also fall into the category of mental objects. Right? Also fall into the category of mental objects, right? Which is to truly, now when we talk about an object, right? I mean, bringing it all together, and we'll come into what Letitia's question is. Concepts. Now we're talking about the existence of concept. Now, when we take an object, and when we are not contemplating in the perspective of Dhamma, but simply just looking at something as something appears to be or how we've learned it to be, right? That is a concept. Right? So in including prajñapti or concept in this class, what it is to say is the mind, right? The object, whilst it can be the first chitta, the second chitta, the 30th chitta, the 89th chitta, and any of the chittas together with its respective chaitasikas and its sahajata rupas or rupas on its own, right? And Nibbana, when it comes to Magga and Phala Samapatti, right? Nibbana, prajñapti, to a mundane individual who does not cognize or does not have the knowledge of comprehension in terms of looking at things through Dhammic formulas, he cognizes he, she, it, right? The wholeness or yamkisi atmayak atuwa thamai ඒ මනුස්සය ඒ අරමුණු දකින්නේ. So at one point, one can say, no, I don't see the first chitta. I see just hatred. I don't see the skandha, ayatana, dhatus, and the satchas of my mother. I just see my mother. That is prajñapti. Do you understand? Right? So to cover all of that ground, we have the 89 chittas, the 52 chaitasikas, the 28 rupas, nibbana, and concepts. Is that clear, everyone? Right? Because at the end of the day, most of the time, what we work with is concepts, right? Is concept. When we have the discerning element in our minds working, then of course we understand the intricacies of those concepts or how those concepts comes to be. But most of the time we don't, right? We simply see concepts, right? Now, moving on, letters. What is your question?
No, it's the Sukuma Rupa, Bhante. The 16 Sukuma Rupas involve the 10 non-concretely produced matter.
Yes.
So not the 28, they say.
Okay.
So,
now, going back, right? Experience through its own respective sense door process, through the mind door process, by the process freed. Do you understand? So that is why we do not only take the 16 types of Sukuma Rupa. Right? Now, to those of you who can't remember what the Sukuma Rupas are, let us go here. I think the Sukuma Rupas are here, 16. It is from, Sukuma Rupas are from, is it from space element onwards or? No, derived. It's from 16, the derived is up until what? The concrete Rupas. Damsiri, yes?
From 19 onward.
19 onward. Ah, yes, 19 onward, space. Right. Now, space, kaya vinyati, vachi vinyati, lightness, softness, adaptability, anicchata, jarata, all of that, right? Now, taking that, let's go to space. Here, Akas, right? Now see, mind. Do you understand why it is not just the concretely derived matter? That is why the concrete derived matter can be taken as clear vipassana objects, right? Because there's stability there. When we are at our infancy stage of meditation, right? When we are at our infancy stage of meditation, we require a stable object of comprehension. The concrete rupas offers that stability. Whilst the derived or the Sukuma rupas, which are derived from the concrete, right? They are cognized through the power of the mind. What if the power of the mind is not strong? Do you understand? Right? What if we are unable to see certain things? Right? Then that compromises on the vipassana. That is why in vipassana it clearly states the concrete matter is a foundation, is an object of vipassana. Let us, have I answered your question?
yes, thank you, Bhante.
Is it clear? Any doubts?
No, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Have I cleared or have I created any doubts in anyone? Everything okay, everyone? Everyone gets it? Any questions? Nothing? Okay. So, shall we go back to our chapter? So, do we then also understand why concepts is found in that same paradigm or that same pachaya? Yeah? Right. Let us go down. Yes, here we are. object. Now, object. Here, another thing is, as a conditioned state, what arises is the 89 chittas and the 52 chaitasikas. We do not talk about the sahajata rupas or any of that, right? We do not talk about the sahajata rupas or any of that. Why? Manopubbangama Dhamma. The mind is a forerunner. When it comes to an object, the first that arises is the mind, right? Which takes the object, right? Now the object is found here, right? The object is a conditioning state. The conditioned state arises taking this object. Do you understand? Right? That is why we do not find sahajata rupas here. Yeah. Is that clear, everyone? Yeah. Shall we move on? Right? So the conditioning state is anything that takes an object, or that, I'm sorry, that can be an object. 89 chittas, 52 chaitasikas, 28 rupas, nibbana, and concepts, prajñapti, right? And prajñapti. When these are taken as object, this is the conditioning state. What arises based upon these 5 are the 89 chittas and the 52 chaitasikas, which arise to cognize that object. Clear? Good. Shall we move on? Everyone, are we clear on Arammana Pachya then? Noeline? Good. Geeta? Okay. I hope the others are okay as well. Now, predominance, adipati. Right? Adipati Pachya. Adipati Pachya has 2 classes, which is Arammana Adipati and Sahajata Adipati. Arammana Adipati and Sahajata Adipati. Right? Arammana Adipati. Arammana Adipati. Now, what is Adipati? Adipati is when an object which is taken, right, is a desirable object, a well sought after object. It is something that we like and want, right, to cognize. It is something which is pleasurable. Hence, what happens is when this object is taken, the whole mind bends to that object which is taken. Adipati. Do you understand? Right? Now, let us say we are enjoying something. Right? We are enjoying something. Let it be a sort of food, or let us say we are listening to something which is very interesting, or reading a book, or doing something that we really like. Right? That we really like. Right? We want to be focused. We want to be there. We want to be able to maintain our minds there. That is Arammana Adipati. Arammana Adipati. Let us read about it. Can someone help me out with the page? Was it somewhere here? Arammana Adipati.
316.
Thank you. 316. 316. Okay. Predominance condition is of 2 types. Object predominance, Arammana Adipati, is a condition where the conditioning state as object dominates over the mental states. Dominates over the mental states. Object predominance is a condition where the conditioning state as object, right? The conditioning state as object dominates. Again, the same thing here. The conditioning state is the object and dominates over the mental states, which take it as their object. Only those objects which are esteemed, cherished, or strongly desired can become the conditioning states in this relation. This condition is virtually identical with object decisive support condition, differing from it only slightly in the conditioning forces. while the latter has a force of being a strongly efficacious cause for the arising of the chitta and chetasikas, the former has a force of strongly attracting and dominating those states. Right? And dominating those states. So when this object appears, because the mind, because it is an object that we take great pleasure in, literally the mind bends towards, everything bends towards this object. Right? That's the state of dominance, right? That it has. That's the state of dominance. We'll read this as well. Connaissance. Now this is Sahajata Adipati. So now if we just think about this before we move on to Sahajata, is Arammana Pacha then would have to be, right? Anything that would be an object, right? But then what would we have to take away? We have to take away anything that we do not like, right? And anything which lacks stability. So that would be the dosa chittas, the moha chittas, right? The dosa chittas, the moha chittas, and the ahetuka dukkha chitta, kaya dukkha chitta, isn't it? Right? The dosa chitta, the moha chitta, and the kaya dukkha chitta in the ahetuka would have to be taken away. Anything else?
What about the javanas, Bhante? They take only 52 javanas out of the 55.
The 52 javanas out of the 55.
Yeah, they're taking only the 2 and the 3 rooted javanas only, not
yes. Okay.
Not the smile producing or the delusion
chittas, because it has to be something that is sought after, not the weak ones.
Yeah.
Not okay. That so we are talking about taking away those javana chittas, but we would also, in the mental factors, we will have to take away the dosa chatukka, isn't it? Dosa issa macharya, those characteristics. Now let us go and check that, right? Here. So object condition. So we will have to have the 18 concrete matter. The 18 concrete matter for the reason of stability and strength, right? For the reason of stability and strength, right? Being taken as object. Is that clear? Why that is? Right? Because we cannot like, or we cannot sort or look out for something that we do not know exists, right? It is something that can be seen that we look for, right? Something that has clear stability and clarity in its existence. 84 chittas minus 2 hatred rooted and 2 delusion rooted, and the body consciousness with pain. So 5 chittas we minus. So 89 minus 5, right? And we have the 47 chetasikas excluding hate, envy, avarice, worry, and doubt. So 52 minus 5. And nibbana, right? And nibbana. That is the object. Everything other than that can be or can become arammana pachaya. Right? What does that mean? What does that mean? Meaning, when the mind takes an object that it sort of looks out for, is sorted, right? Is sorted out for something that it likes to be in, including tanha, mind you. It's not just the wholesome, but including tanha. Tanha is there, right? Including tanha, it is something that creates a sense of attachment, clinging, arammana pacha. So much so, the mind bends towards all of these things that are named under, or objects that come under arammana pacha. Is that clear? Right? Arammana pacha. We also then learn something about dosa, right? the agitation which, the agitation that we experience through dosa, then is an agitation, the stress that one goes through when experiencing the dosa, the two dosas, the hatred-rooted chittas. All that agitation is everything to do with getting away from something. Although it seems as if, because I guess, before seeing this, it would seem as if, dosa also can become a Aramanadipati, isn't it? Because we sometimes get so entrenched in our hate, right? Get so entrenched in our hate that sometimes we want to sort of inflict pain as well through our hate, right? And we take pleasure in seeing or being able to, most probably, rather than the seeing. I think sometimes it's more pleasurable in being able to do something, but then sometimes we then regret the outcome of it after seeing it. However, taking pleasure in inducing pain, right? Inducing pain, or being able to rather induce pain, right? Now that is not an Arambana Pacha, which is very interesting, I would say. That is not an Arambana Pacha. That seems to be something that is then an agitation that is created to get away from a situation, to get back at something or someone, rather than a sort of an engulfing. So we try to sort of hurt in order to feel better. Hence, the attraction is to maybe something in the future, right? Where we would think, okay, revenge, that would make me feel better. But nothing that makes the mind sort of bend towards an object in any way, rather than repelling that object in every sense of the word. Repelling that object. Yeah, which is very interesting, I would say. Now, yes, Damsari.
I think there are certain religions actually, they practice this body pain as sort of a sacrifice, because you have seen that when in Colombo itself, actually, when you have a whale perahara, people they carry cards hooked to your body. You pull a card, hooked to your whole body.
Yes.
On there and everywhere. They pull these things, but they use the pain. But it is not the case of pain. They have another sort of hidden meaning behind it. So you cannot consider it as an object, body pain is object. Yeah.
That one, doesn't it fall under Kitta Chitta? Kitta Chitta or Kitta Chitta. Kitta Chitta is when the mind is being overtaken by a ghoul or ghost. Yeah. So it says in the Vinaya, most actually all of the Vinaya rules, Kitta Chitta Anapatti, right? Or when it is done by a ghoul or ghost who has entered to the body and then sort of incurs offense, it is not an offense because it is not your doing. It's because these yagas and these sort of sense of peraharas that happen, even the walking on fire and all of that, isn't it? They happen with a sense of possession, isn't it? As I am aware, I'm not fully aware.
Then Bhante,
Yes.
what they do at Kataragama, putting pins in their mouth and all that.
I think that is what Damsiri is talking about.
That's what exactly I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They do that in a trance, don't they?
No, they don't.
No.
No.
They get into a trance and then do it.
No, they believe.
I think it is a vow that they make to fulfill the vow to the god, right? That's why they do it.
They are not in a trance when they pierce the mouth.
Yes, they're not in a trance. No, they are
Okay.
fulfilling the vow that they have made to the gods.
And do they like cry and scream in pain?
No,
No, no,
no.
no.
They happily pull these cards hooked to your body with metal hooks. And I think in their conscious, subconscious mind, or in their mind, actually, they have too much, what's the word? Too much
Faith.
sadhana.
So much faith in that.
Oh, faith, so much faith on God, and they actually they don't feel it because of the faith.
Bhante, what exactly is chitta then? What you
Well,
mentioned?
Chitta chitta, Vedanatta, Chitta chitta, Ummattaka, Vedanatta, Chitta chitta, Ummattaka. There's one more. So, Anapati. Vedanatta is when a person is in severe pain. Right. So when you're sometimes, let's say, when you're in severe pain, you might sort of utter some words which are not suitable or hateful. Right. And if that does happen, it is anapati. Right. Chitta is being possessed. Right. Where people are possessed by spirits. Right, these spirits might be spirits that we refer to as gods in this time. These spirits might be relatives. These spirits might be sort of pretas, yakas, pisachas, kumbhandas, and all of that. Low spirits and also the higher spirits and deities. All of that. Right.
Bhante, did the Buddha accept that kind of possession? It's like the voodoo thing, the voodoo kind of stuff.
Yes. I mean, it was all the rage at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, because things like voodoo and all of that, it was there from the time of the rishis, isn't it? Dark magic and all of these things. It flowed down from the time of the rishis with the Vedas. Right. And in Sri Lanka, what we have is an ancient tradition of Tamil mantras that came in from India. Right. Those are the mantras that we have in Sri Lanka, ancient Telugu, right? Mantras, which came from sort of India. And those are the mantras that we have usually in Sri Lanka, and those are the most of the mantras that are used in Sri Lanka. Right. And this sort of goes down to, or it spans across thousands of years. And it is said that it was from the time of the rishis and, all of that, that all of this sort of happened. During the time of the rishis, what the rishis used to do is, because of their meditative powers, they could, with their samadhi, they could instill blessings upon sort of objects, right? And later on, what people started doing later on is the fact that they made verses, right? And most of these verses speaks about sort of draws power from heavenly beings, draws power from the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, draws power from purity, draws power from evil. And the more samadhi that a person has, regardless of whether it is samma samadhi or miccha samadhi, the mantra works better. Right, the mantra works better. Actually, there is a story that I could actually tell you. So when I was, this is quite funny, but so when I was sort of young, and my mother had all these associations with, different monks, and some of these monks who were, sort of respected, sort of who would do sort of yantra mantras and all of that for the ministers and the presidents and, all of that. Right now, because this was the time that I got into Buddhism, and obviously in Sri Lanka, when you've not learned and all of that, the line between Hinduism and these practices and Buddhism is quite blurred, right? So I thought, this was a part of Buddhism because I saw this happening in temples so much, right? And this monk was actually quite close to our family. And what happened was, because he knew all these mantras, he had whole books of all these ancient Telugu mantras, and he was quite good at what he was doing. Right. And at this time, as a I think I was 14 or 15. And, my Panchasila was on spot. My meditation was on spot. Like I was a pure being, right? Being like 15 years old, like my Sila was on spot. Like my everything was on spot. Like I was practicing meditation. I had Samadhi and all of that. So then, when Nayaka Hamduru got sick, or, when he would fall ill from diabetes and all of that, he would, he sort of, we would be taking care of him because he would come over and stay at our house. And, just because I was like sweet and, cute and taking care of him, he was like teaching me these mantras, right? Which I remember to this day, Katapadam. And right. And he used to, so people would like, of course, come and say, can you do this for me? And can you do that for me? So when he has too much of work, he would like send this stuff to the house with his driver and tell my mom, baby, right? So I would come back home, right, from school, and I would do this for about 2 hours, right, doing the chanting and the mantras, and I would send it back with the driver the next day or whatnot, and do the yantras with the blue sapphires and all of that, like do all of that. And the monk, he actually got a lot of like, like apparently like it worked really well, right? Apparently it worked really well, and now the order started increasing for the monk. Right, because apparently what the monk said was, because he already knew that I was like doing everything, like keeping the Panchasila, doing like the meditation and all of this, and I used to do it because I thought this was Buddhism, right? And I used to do it with a lot of Shraddha, Panathila, Okkama, all of that, and it used to like work so well for people who were taking like the holy water away and the yantras away and all of this. And I remember whilst doing the mantras, because at the time, like, because the monk used to stay a couple of days or sometimes even weeks at our house, because we used to take care of him because his diabetes was really bad, right? He was like a 70-year-old like monk. And he used to say, so my mother sort of arranged like the front room as like a devale for his work, so that he could just do his work and just rest, because he was one of those workaholic monks. And so we had a little devale just to please this monk and to get him to rest. And and when he would chant, when I would chant, like the kirihatis and all of that would just sort of uturanna, it would flow, without any fire or anything like that. They were strong sort of, they were very strong sort of mantras, I believe, and with the amount of sila that one has, the mantras or the powers of the mantras are far more sort of, it increases. If you don't have any sila, it all depends on your sila and your vibration attracts that energy. Right, your vibration attracts the energy. Your vibration attracts the energy. So what people like, monks like who's the monk who lives in Kailash, I can't remember his name, but he often lives in Kailash. What he often says is, because he can see and all of these things, what he often says is that most spirits who like to sort of misguide people, would do things like the results of Vaskavi and the sort of the bad side, the dark side of magic. They would sort of fulfill this side of things just because, to create a sense of michya saddha, wrong shraddha within people, right? To take refuge in these sorts of evil acts, to misguide people out of the path of right, not Buddhism, but right. Harideng haravan. right? Because you go to some of these sort of, I've gone with this monk to some of these sort of devalis, which are sort of known for their, there are certain sort of devalis in Sri Lanka, which is known for Vaskavi devalis. Like you can't do good stuff there. You only do killing, you only do injuring, like stuff like that. And you go into these places, and these are not like devalis. It's not like kovilas. These are like little sort of poverty-stricken like huts. I mean, it's like Garavatila, Appirisudui, like people, they go and sort of light the lamps, and it's powerful in the sense of doing bad and evil things. And when you see, of course, it has either Kali or some god who is who is capable of doing these things. But when you look at it, like there is no good spirit here. There can't be. That it is a kind of like an evil spirit or something like that. That has to be there. No good spirit would be there. I mean, a human won't be there. It is that sort of, but very powerful in the sense of evil. Right. So it all depends on the person, the vibration and all of this. Most of these people who don't meditate, who don't have any spiritual abilities and powers or Shraddha and all of that, who is like consuming alcohol and doing all that garbage, that's all nonsense, what I believe, and sort of because being with this monk who was really good at what he did, and sort of all of that, and meeting many other people who sort of did that at the time. I don't know why, but because that monk was in that circle, like, all of those sort of the people that I met who are good at what they do were actually people, monks and people who are actually like Panchasila Rakina, like who are pure to a certain extent, right? Not the ones who are kind of like getting drunk and, doing all of this sort of nonsense behind people's backs and, all of that, not that kind. Right. So that is Chitta Chitta, being able to be possessed, right? Or being possessed by spirits and then doing something. Yeah. Does that answer the question? I don't know what the question was. No, we went into a long, wrong story.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Bhante, can you do mantras now?
Well, I remember a few of them, and but I told this story to a couple of devotees of mine in Sri Lanka, and the message went, and one day I was like, fine, someone calls and they're like, "Manghite mi bhavanawa gane ahanna ewa genawa kiyala me shraddhawen balagana me ඇත්තටම පළතුරු වට්ටියක් අරන් එනවා මාව හම්බ වෙන්න." And then like some guy, he came and he's like, "I'm going to start this business. Will it be successful?" I'm like, "What do you think I am?" Because like the message had gone, harm the rose mantras and all of that. But no, not after becoming a monk. Not after becoming a monk. And actually not because of anything else, but because at the time I thought that was Buddhism. I honestly thought that was Buddhism. It was only after sort of, reading more and sort of all of that I realized that it is not Buddhism, and that the Buddha actually denounced such things because the Buddha was more about cultivation and development of the mind rather than sort of mantras and all of this. But I do sort of remember, certain mantras and all of that, which, I have, katapadang karapo hinda matakai tam, yeah. So no, I don't.
Were you carrying a trident also?
Sorry?
Trident. The one with
the three. No. No, not at all. Not at all. But it is quite interesting, because it is quite interesting in the old Veda books that the monk had. It spoke about different ingredients that repel sort of bad energy. For example, the fat of the tiger, right? The fat of the tiger, tail of the tiger. If you are to put something like that into a yantre, no one can possibly do anything dark to you, right? I mean, some of the yantras that are made are made fully of sort of kotitel, right? And no one can do anything. I mean, any sort of dark sort of Veda magic or old magic or, whatever, nothing, just simply tiger, things like that comes from like old traditions of like Veda books. And, there are different things, which I remember, but, and Kasturika is a very powerful sort of, it says a very powerful sort of, it's like a, what Kasturika is.
Mountain deer. Actually, you get from mountain deer.
From the
And you
deer.
use that in that drink, Dhamma City Kasturi. The drink
No,
you
no,
made
no,
the other day.
No.
No.
It is from the deer.
Kasturi-
Yes.
Pinnacle
It's
order.
a kind of
Is
deer.
it the testicles?
No.
No, that's from the
it's a-
tail, I think. From
No,
the tail.
it's a belly
Oil is from
button.
the tail.
Belly button.
Belly button.
Oh.
Yes, belly button. And there is like this sort of, it's like pora vage.
Yeah, that's right. And
Right.
it's mainly rarely you find in Himalayas mountain deer.
Yes. And it comes like it comes like that. That's why I thought whether it was a testicle or something, because it comes like in a sort of like a pouch sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And so things like that, which brings a lot of energy, a lot of sort of attraction, so many different sort of things like that. And I knew sort of even some ministers who would sort of literally, like embed this monk sort of yantras and stuff in their bodies. Like they had such faith in, they would literally cut their skin and put it in and sew it and literally have it in there. Some of the more powerful mantras have Buddha Dhatu in them, right? Buddha Dhatu in them, Dhatun Mahansela, right? And which is...
Bhante,
which-
do you believe in them? Do you believe in them?
Do I believe in them?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I am not sure about its efficacy, right? I'm not sure
Yes.
about its efficacy.
Yes.
But I feel like I am simply just repeating what was mentioned in the Veda books, and what was sort of practiced.
But
you know.
then does it come under wrong with Mithya?
Yes. That's what I was thinking. Yes.
Sunaka Dhamma. It comes from
Sulakadhamma. That's it. Buddha yes. There is a
it
yes.
comes under Sunaka Dhamma.
Sulakadhamma. Yes.
Yeah, it comes under Sunaka Dhamma. However, the Buddha, in saying that it is Sunaka Dhamma, he only says that it is the practice of the low, practice of those who have not understood the potential of the human mind, potential of the mind. Hence, they go behind these things for protection. And I completely agree with that, because we find, especially, countries like Sri Lanka, in India, right?
Yeah.
Even in Burma, Thailand, Laos, a lot. People just go crazy. Right? To a fact that, for example, if in Sri Lanka, you were to say you have Appala from this for 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, you will literally make that come true. The astrologer might have been like a really sort of lousy astrologer, but you will literally make it come true by simply believing that you're going through a bad time. That is why it's called Sunaka Dhamma.
Yeah.
Right? That is why it is called Sunaka Dhamma. However, it is important to note that the Buddha did not say that there was no හරයක් නැහැ කියන එක කිව්වේ නැහැ. That's the word. He did not discredit it.
Disagree.
Discredit. He didn't discredit the practice. He simply said that this is the practice of the law. Right? That this is the practice of the law. Because when you go behind it, when you go behind all of that, right, your life turns into something else. Right? However, there have been instances, I knew, during the time that I was looking for a crystal for Nagadeepa and Ruanvelisaya, I came across this man in Ratnapura, a Mudalali, a very wealthy Mudalali of the area, but not respected by the Mudalali, the gem community, because he had attained all his wealth through digging treasure, right? Through digging treasure. So all of the people who dug treasure with him died. Only he survived up to now. They didn't die in the process of digging the treasure. They died after having dug the treasure out, right? Through accidents, like very traumatic sort of incidents, right? The akala marana, right? Accidents, falling from somewhere, crashes, stuff like that. Only this guy survived. And this guy, what he does is, I remember going to his house and I didn't even eat anything. He was cooking dana, and I had to actually make, because the lady who sent me there, who was a close devotee of mine, she said, Bhante, you go there, but do not eat. Right. And which was, oh my gosh, which was so awkward because he was cooking. I had to make an excuse and get out of there. Right. Right, I had to make an excuse and get out of that, because she was like, do not eat anything from that house. But regardless, he, I heard, is sort of doing yagas and pujas every month, and that was what was essentially sort of keeping him alive, kind of. Right, because what we know of the ancient tradition of sort of these treasures is the fact that there are certain beings who sort of protect, unseen energies and beings who protect these treasures, and that is how they are laid. And the treasures are only supposed to be used and utilized for the development of the region, not for personal development. Right, so a good excuse to sort of dig treasure out, and the reason that these treasures has been sort of stalled in most areas is for the fact of being able to dig them out. We even know of some Aranyas who have actually dug treasures out and sort of built their monasteries, right? And these things happen all across Sri Lanka, and so those are different stories. So I myself do not discredit it, because stuff like this has been happening in my house, right? Literally, remembering how things would sort of float, how the muttis would start sort of flowing out, and all of these things, right? And the mere vibration of that front room, right? The mere vibration of that front room is as a person who is a non-believer, who got into it because of an association and then sort of came out of it, still I don't denounce it, right? But is that the path to go down? Definitely not. I think that's all. Yes.
Bhante, ultimately, whatever things anybody does, ultimate thing is death. No one can live forever. So doing all this, and these people, doing all this, ultimately, whatever power they get out of it, they all have to die.
Yes. Unfortunately, if they realize that, then a lot of things won't happen.
Yes.
If they realize that.
Nobody can live forever. So
yes. So can we come back? Oh, I hope I've answered some of your questions from the yard. Yes, Noeline? Did Noeline say something?
Yes, Bhante, I said back to predominance.
Back to predominance. Back to predominance. Now, but something to sort of in the Himalayas, the rishis, I remember a story. I will tell you this story. While I was sort of traveling around the Himalayas from Rishikesh and into sort of all these sort of spiritual areas, where all of these sort of renowned practitioners, they lived, and they sort of all of that. The association, you could sort of see a very close association between higher powers and the people. high powers and the people. I'm not talking about like Varanasi and places like that, which have really sort of become so commercialized that the sadhus would literally come up to you and say like, first picture is free, but second picture onwards 10 rupees or something like that, you know. There was actually one sadhu who got me to delete the picture I took with him just because I didn't have 10 rupees. But but when you go, I mean, it was a funny instance. I'm not sort of pulling them down, but it was a very funny instance. And when you sort of go into the most spiritual places, like Rishikesh, Kedarnath, Badrinath, all these sort of places, you find a very close association of between sort of divine beings and people, and no one who's really been there can sort of say no as well. Because I remember we were walking up this sort of mountain, which was such a steep mountain. My friend, Guno Panyasobana, Venerable Panyasobana, he gave a talk to us, right, from Australia. So it was with him. So you could imagine, walking up a mountain with him, right? And he was finding it very difficult. At one point, I had to sort of push him like up the mountain. It was so funny. and push him up the mountain. And, it was a very clear day and, all of that. And the temple was such that the Kovil or the Deva, the Kovil was such, it was a temple. The temple was such that, it only had a guard. Dora Arina Vahana Manusek Vitrai Hitiye. And when we reached, it was a bright, clear day, and we sort of reached the top. And all of a sudden, just, it was like a mountain, like this little mountain, a hill. And then on top, you have the temple premises on top. It's not very big. It's just, there's the temple, and then there's some sort of pahan batter and, lamp to light the lamps, and not a big premises, the top. And then when we all reached the top, there was like a whole group of women and, all of that people, not many foreigners, just like, it was just us and, some like men and women who were like just children who were just climbing with us in the morning. And then when we went up there, the doorman, he just opened. It was the time of the opening of the doors, and he opened. And at the time, a cloud sort of covered the whole top of the mountain, right? It didn't sort of cover us. It was on top of us, right? It was just on top, right? And it was quite weird because, sometimes, some of these clouds, they seem so far, but so near at the same time, something like that. It was a really low cloud, and it was so weird because there was no other clouds like that. It was just this cloud, and it was a very gloomy cloud, right? Like a heavy cloud, like it was going to rain cloud, right? And like a woman who climbed with us, right? Apita hina vela lady kenek, right? Sari Gatagan, she was laughing at me, sort of pushing Pannas over up the mountain, because he was struggling. And so Ekaparan, she got possessed, right? And she was just a normal person, right? She was simply just a normal person. And then the person who was there, one person who was there to opened the gates, and he started sort of banging on the drums. And then this lady started dancing and, possessed. And she went in and she did all the pujas for everyone, right? And then the temple only remains open for a certain amount of time. And we went and we chanted the Metta Sutra, and we passed merits to the deities. And we came out, and she was continuing to sort of in her possessed trance-like state. She was doing all of this. And, after a certain time, she would sort of come out of the trance and she would go down with the people, and the temple would close again, right? There was no sort of designated sort of sadhu or a, person. So I would definitely not sort of discredit and sort of put it down. However, I feel like with Dhamma, with the potential of the mind, we as Sri Lankans, as Asians, we've seen the dark side of this, right? The dark side of it. And the dark side is really, really dark, so much so that people's lives are literally ruined, right? Ruined because of something like this, things like this, so much so that we entirely believe that it is only up to the stars to determine our destiny and not our actions, So that is my take on it. And at the time of the rishis as well, things like talismans and all of that were there, right? Were there. I mean, the Pirit Nula is a talisman. The Pirit Nula is a talisman, right? The Pirit Nula is a talisman. And I remember living with Venerable Abhidhamma Mahate, Nayaka Hamduru, Swami Nasi. People would come from afar just to get his Spirit Nula. Just to get his Spirit Nula, because Abhidhamma Swami Nasi, actually even we had his Spirit Nulas in our kutis, and the Upasthayaka Hamdar would be really fuzzy, but then we go to clean the kuti and we, take a Spirit Nula from the thing without telling him. But because he was just a big fuzzy boot, and and because Venerable Abhidhamma Thero would be chanting 3 times a day, right? And he's chanting his samadhi with metta. I mean, his level of spiritual power was on a different level, right? We would have his Spirit Nulas in our kutis, in our books, right? And people would come from afar to receive these Spirit Nulas when they're going through a very troubled time in their lives, right? And I remember as a boy, as a lay boy, when I when I was going through stuff with my mom and all of that, I felt that after getting a Spirit Nula and wearing it and all of that, certain problems eased up as well. I do remember, right? So the Spirit Nula itself is a talisman. Yeah. All right. So coming back. Now, what were we doing? Adipati. Aramana Adipati. Aramana Adipati. So this is the object. This is the object. Because of this object, the conditioned states that can arise to cognize the object taken in by Aramana Adipati, or taken as object, the conditioning state, which is taken as object, is what? Now, pleasurable, right? Pleasurable. And it must interact with the object, right? Because here it's Aramana Adipati. The whole mind has to interact with this object. So what arises? The karma chittas. The karma chittas. Do you understand what I mean by karma chittas? Right? Where actions are done. Greed-rooted chittas, 8. Great wholesome chittas, 8. 4 great functional chittas with knowledge. Right? With knowledge. Because if it's functional and you're looking out or you want something, it is with prajna, because you're an arahant, isn't it? If it's functional. So you will not want without knowing what's happening or what it is. Do you understand? Right? So that is why 4 great, not the ones without knowledge, it's with knowledge. 8 supramundane chittas, right? 8 supramundane chittas. How does the supramundane chittas bend towards an object? It bends to nibbana. Right? It bends to nibbana, right? Nivanata manasa yomu vena sampurnam. And there are 45 chaitasikas minus hate, envy, avarice, worry, doubt, and the 2 illimitables, right? And the 2 illimitables. Damsiri, what is it?
Read my face. But the illimitables here is included because it is not
They're only experiences.
active Dhamma. It's a sort of it's a passive sort of feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's a passive feeling.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Let me think about it. 2 illimitables. Okay, two illimitables, concrete 84 chittas, minus 8 delusion, body consciousness is pain, 45 chittas. Okay, taking two illimitables as object. This is the reason. When in Aramana Adipati, the mind bends to the object. Got it? In the illimitables, the mind doesn't bend to the object.
That's exactly the passive.
It's passive. Would passive
Because when it is active, it bends.
bends?
When
Yes.
it is passive, it doesn't react,
Doesn't-
to,
Yes.
react to the object.
Yes.
And last time you said they are only because they are experiences and not a practice.
Yes. So here, this is here. Let's update that, right? Now, when we are saying, now I am at this moment, I'm saying, Noili nidukvetva, nirogivetva, sopatvetva, right?
Sadhu.
Sadhu. Abhidhamma teretva.
That I need that.
That I need.
Especially with Pattana.
Right. So now see, now I am here giving out, karuna and mudita, right, towards a person, right? Now the object is there and I'm transferring that vibration towards this, object, right? Towards that object. The mind is instilled within a certain practice. It's not bent in my whole life or my whole moment does not become about that person. Do you understand? Right? In Aramana Pattana, the object saturates the mind. So if the illimitables can become Aramana Adipati, right? Can arise as a conditioned state of Aramana Adipati, what would happen is my whole mind in this example would be Noiling. Do you understand? Or any other object that I take, which does not happen with Karuna and Mudita, isn't it? Right? You're giving, it's not that this person, this object becomes or saturates your whole entirety. You're simply radiating and giving and well-wishing. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, Bhante.
Yeah. That is why then, so we can update what I said earlier, right?
So what's the difference between the two then, Bhante? You wanted to update that? It's a...
Yes, because but I feel like now I've sort of explained it better,
Okay.
because yes, it is an experience, but what does that also mean, So then you can add this on, because we are giving something at that moment. The object that we are sort of transferring, metta or karuna or mudita or whatever, is not sort of saturating our mind. It's simply we are giving. It is not a process where sort of, the metta, the karuna saturates our mind, right? But the mind is not bending to anything. Yeah.
Yes, Bhante.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? Are we good? All right, moving on. Can we move on to connaissance?
Is that all you can say about predominance, Bhante? Can we talk more about predominance? My favorite one out of the four.
Well, what more can we say? Well, we have connaissance.
We have only done half of that.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Yeah.
more predominance. Yes.
Okay.
So Sahajata Adipati. Sahajata Adipati is with regards to 530. Did we say 530?
What's Sahajata Adipati, Bhante? It's
Connascent. Connaissance
is 317.
317. Yes. Here. Here it is. Connascence predominance, Sahajata Adhipati, is a condition where a conditioning state dominates conditioned states connascent with itself. Ekatai hataganne. Right? So the conditioning state and the conditioning state arises together, connascent. The conditioning states in this relation are the four predominants. Right? Are the four predominants. Desire, energy, consciousness and investigation.
Mindful and wisdom. The last one.
Yes, and investigation. Can someone go to this page, please, and see what the page is for us? Only one of these can take on the role of predominance condition. So only one, right? Desire, energy, consciousness, and investigation. Only one can take predominance out of the four on a given occasion. And then only in Javana Chittas can 2 or 3 roots, with 2 or 3 roots. And then only in Javana Chittas with 2 or 3 roots. So only one of these can take predominance, and they can only take predominance in one of the Javana Chittas with 2 or 3 roots. Stability, predominance, because it's predominance, you see, right?
It's like a king.
Yes, exactly. The connascent mental and material phenomena are the conditioned states, right? Are the conditioned states. Do we have that other page? Right. Now, the conditioning state becomes one of the 3 predominant factors: desire, energy, wisdom, connascent with 52 predominant jhana, connascent with 52 predominant jhavanas, chittas of those 52 predominant jhavanas. So that is where the consciousness is, everyone. Because here we find desire, energy, and wisdom, right? And then the consciousness is here. Is that clear? Right? The consciousness is here, right? Predominant. Now, with these jhavanas, or with this conditioning state, what arises? 52 predominant jhavanas, 51 chetasikas excluding doubt. Why? Adhipati.
47. Bhante, is it 47 chetasikas? I thought it was 47. That's for the other one then, is it?
47?
Chetasikas.
No, it's 51. 47 is here. It's in Aramanadipati. 47 minus 8 will be average, worry, and doubt. Right?
Yeah.
Here it is only 51 excluding doubt. Other than predominant factor, right? Other than the predominant factor, which is 1, right? So if it is chanda, desire, then we must minus chanda from here, because chanda is already here as a conditioning state. If it is energy, then energy is here and the rest are here. Do you understand? Right? So because we cannot repeat, isn't it? Right? Right? And matter born of predominant chitta. Matter born of predominant chitta. Right? Predominant chitta.
They are the concrete ones then.
Matter born of the predominant chittas would be Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vaya, Vannagandha, Rasa, Oja.
Two sexes. And the 2 sexes. Heart, life faculty, and nutriment.
Consciousness born. Would we take?
Yeah, I'm talking about the concrete ones. Concrete 18.
No, because we have to take chitta-ja, right? Chitta-ja, right? Chitta-ja arising from the predominant consciousnesses, right? Chitta-ja arising from the predominant consciousnesses. Look at that again, right? So here we have three predominant factors: desire, energy, wisdom, right? Desire, energy, wisdom, consciousness, right? Forget consciousness, desire, energy, wisdom, one of them, right? Connascent with 52 predominant jhanas, because it has to be one of the four, right? Desire, energy, chitta, consciousness, and wisdom. And it has to also be within the two-rooted or the three-rooted jhavanas, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
That is why we are only taking 52 predominant jhavanas,
Yeah.
right? We are excluding the jhavanas which take place with one root, right? With
And
one
rootless.
and the rootless. Thank you. And the rootless. Chitta, right? Connascent with 52 predominant jhavana chitta of those 52 jhavanas, right? Of those 52 jhavanas, right? The chittas of those, and there's a comma here. Chitta of those predominant jhavanas, those 52 jhavanas, the chittas that are associated with those two-rooted and three-rooted jhavanas, right?
Yeah.
So what would that create? We could then take, right? Now, as a result, what arises is, are we all on the same page? Are we confused? Yeah. 52 predominant jhavanas. How many jhavana chittas are there altogether?
55.
55. And then we minus
The
what
two
are
with delusion and the one delusion, and the other one is the rootless one. Smile producing.
rootless, smile producing. So 3, right? Right? Rootless, smile producing, that is 3, right? Those 3. Is that understood, everyone? So there are 55 jhavana chittas, right? What does that mean? With 55 chittas out of 89 chittas perform the function of jhavana, right? Perform the function of jhavana, out of which one is three are one rooted with one root, right?
Two with one root.
Sorry,
Bhante.
2 with one root and
one
one with
rootless.
no root.
Yeah.
Right? Rootless. One is smile producing and one no root is smile producing and one root is the delusion. Is that
Delusion.
understood? They are very weak, right? They cannot perform the function of Adhipati owing to their level of weakness and fragility. Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, Bhante.
Right? What does the Jhavana Chitta do? A Jhavana Chitta responds, reacts, works, and performs karma.
The karma producing chittas.
They are karma producing chittas, and by karma, please know that we are referring to two aspects. One, producing karma, hence producing resultants. That's one, right? And producing karma in the sense of producing energy. Do you understand? In those two aspects. Hence, we have 52 predominant jhavanas. Right? Predominant jhavanas. There are 51 Chetasikas excluding doubt, because remember, we don't have doubt here. Right? We don't have doubt here. Vichikiccha is a delusion rooted chitta. We don't have Vichikiccha here. Right? Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, Bhante.
Right? Other than predominant factor, which is what is the predominant out of the 3 here? What is predominant? Right? And then matter born of predominant chitta. Matter born of predominant chitta. Now, eka mokadda. Shall we just talk about that? Matter born of predominant chitta. right? So it
Are they
has
the concrete ones, Bhante?
no,
Matter?
no, we chittaja, right? Chittaja, but we have to see desire, energy, wisdom, right? Desire, energy, wisdom. Now, what can be sought with that? Chittaja, so one of the three, desire, energy, and discernment, wisdom. What do you think can arise out of desire or virya, desire, desire, energy, and wisdom? What materiality do you think we should take into consideration, or which chittaja rupas? Any idea?
Can you word that in a different way, Bhante, please?
So, what I'm asking, now we had the 6 consciousness born here now, right? Now, the predominant chitta, this is sahajata adipati, ekata hataganni, right? However, in that complex of those that arise together, either effort, desire, effort, or wisdom becomes predominant, right? So what are the consciousness born kalapa groupings which we can take into consideration here then? What do you think? First of all, we will have to see, right? First of all, we will have to see, where does desire exist? Where does desire exist? Where does effort exist, energy exist, and where does discernment exist? Isn't it? And then all the consciousnesses that have desire, energy, and discernment or wisdom can produce chittaja rupas. Because why? I mean, it's also 52, 52, we are taking 52 2-rooted and 3-rooted javanas as well, isn't it? Right? So what do we think? What do you think?
Can we take one by one? Right?
Yeah.
We'll take pure octad. That means consciousness born pure octad. Right? Yeah, it's possible. Because all these 3 are Chaitisicas. Right? So
Yeah.
because they are Chaitisicas, they are not involving any bodily or vocal activities.
Okay.
Right? So we can exclude bodily and vocal intimations. Right? And then we have the other one is mutability.
Undikad.
Undikad.
So pure octad, yes. Bodily intimation and vocal intimation, no.
No. Yeah.
No.
No. You say
no,
no.
Yes. No.
No. No.
No. Okay. No.
And then we'll come to mutability.
Okay.
Undikad. Yes. Because when you're in the process of, when you are at dhyana stage, your body is calm, your mind is calm, lightness, right? You have lightness, softness, and adaptability, all 3.
Okay.
Do you agree with me?
Okay. And moving on.
Bhante, can I ask a question, please? It's Lettice.
Yes.
Hello. Bhante, because it's all the javanas, would they be producing kammaja rupas?
Because it's all the javanas, would it be producing kammaja rupa? Very interesting.
Because earlier you said it's all about kamma.
Karma producing. The ability to, it's not all about karma. It's the fact that they create energies. Right. Sahajata, because of the Sahajata Adipati. The in Adipati, why we brought in the karma is more than the karma resultant. The fact is the energy which allows the Adipati, the force, to exist. Right. However, interesting question. We'll come to that. Right. We'll come to that. Damsiri, mutability.
Uh, Mutability, yes. So we have lightness and softness and adaptability. So with wisdom, you can have those rupas.
Why did you not take in bodily intimation or not?
Because
and vocal intimation, Descartes.
The reason is because vocal intimation is because of main three Taitisicas.
Okay.
Right? Three Taitisicas are actually in the mind, not in the. There's no direct influence on body, right? What are those?
However,
Chandaya,
yes,
desire, Virya, energy, and Vimansa, wisdom.
okay.
They are all in with the consciousness.
With the conscience. However, Javana, during the moment of Javana, right? Yeah. During the moment of Javana, for example, with the fact of me thinking, let us say, the desire to give, the strong desire to give, okay, would that not create, because we are talking about the 52,
52.
52 Javana consciousnesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now those javanas, javana walin nemeda yam kisi vidiyakata owing to desire, owing to vimansa, prajna, wisdom, and sort of energy, isn't that how we cultivate the action, the physical action? Isn't it owing to the mind? යම්කිසි දීමට තිබෙන යම්කිසි චේතනාවක් පදනම් කරගෙන නෙමෙයිද දෙන්නේ? You get what I mean, Damsiri?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking a little bit when it comes to kusala and akusala separately. So the manifestation of when you have kusala dhamma and akusala dhamma, they are they don't reflect in the kusala or akusala, wholesome or unwholesomeness about it. It will not be reflected in the body. Right?
It will not be reflected in the body. Why do you say that?
Because it's only limited to mind, because these are mind-based activities. Desire, energy, and wisdom, together with consciousness, are all mind-based. And because it's mind,
But that is true. What you're saying is entirely true. But the thing is, mind is the forerunner of all physicality as well.
Okay.
Right? Now, that is where now what Let is asked. What about karma? Right? What about kammaja rupas? Kammaja rupas, we are not taking into account here lettuce. What is the reason? Because karma arises not because of these sahajata dhammas. Do you understand? Lettuce. Now we are talking about sahajata adipati. It must arise. The conditioning state is the object, right? And the conditioned state arises together, sahajata, together with the conditioning state. In kammaja rupas, that energy could have arose in the conditioning state of sahajata rupa could have been somewhere in the past. We are talking about sahajata. It has to arise at this moment. Is that clear, Lettuce?
Yes, thank you.
That is why we are only taking chittaja rupas and not kammaja rupas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Now, even uttuja rupa and aharaja rupa, right? They are not sahajata rupas connected with the mind. Is that clear? They are not sahajata rupas connected with the mind. Right? If you eat something, that's a different story. But we are talking about the mind here. Sahajata adipati. Right? Now, sahajata pacha is different. Sahajata pacha is different. This is sahajata adipati. Adipati means that this konasam dhamma, the mind must bend towards one of chanda, chitta, virya, vimansa. It's all in the mind. However, it is from the mind that the rupas, that certain actions happen. Right? That is why I believe.
Bhante, let me explain my explanation. Complete the explanation. So it says material born of predominant chittas. That means chittas either with the desire, energy, or wisdom. Right? So when you have chittas with desire, energy, and wisdom, can we have bodily intimation or vocal intimation?
Can we have bodily intimation or vocal intimation? Can we have, we must go. Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Chapter 2. Right. Now.
In a way, yes, Bhante. Yes, it is possible. Because we'll say if you have a desire, prominent, right?
Yeah.
Desire is predominant. So whatever the desire, okay, we'll say, take for example, we want to go and make a dhani for some monk, yeah?
Yeah.
So we have a strong desire.
Yeah.
So that actually, that desire can have a bodily intimation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
And vocal intimation also, because I can ask Mala, shall we go and make some, that's also vocal intimation, yeah?
Yes, send me a slide.
Reacting, creating a words.
Yes, absolutely. And here, now we have the chart here.
Yeah.
Right. Now, maybe that would be easier. Okay. Right. what we are looking for is, here wisdom is here. Let me highlight that. Wisdom, desire, and virya, isn't it? Effort here, this one, right? So then let's switch here. Now let's go for wisdom first. Wisdom would arise in all the chittas with knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? In all the chittas with knowledge. Right? Then it would all arise in all the meditative chittas because we meditate with knowledge. Right? In all the chittas meditating with knowledge. Now Dhamsiri, desire, ප්‍රඥාවෙන් යම්කිසි කුසලයක් කරනවා ඥාන සම්පයුක්ත කුසලයක් කරනවා නම් ඒ කුසලයේ අපි කරන්නේ එන ඥාන සම්පයුක්ත සෝබන සිතකින්. So here then ඒ කාය විඤ්ඤාතිය වචී විඤ්ඤාතිය හට ගන්නවා. Everyone, what I mentioned is, because at this moment of me speaking the Dhamma, you discussing the Dhamma and listening to the Dhamma, all the chittas that are arising within our mind at this moment in time is Jnana Sampayutta Kusala Sobana Sit. Isn't it? Chittas. Right? Jnana Sampayutta. It is with that Jnana Sampayutta that we sort of maintain our bodies, speak, interact with the class, interact with our books and notes and all of that. So that is why then we have to take the Kaya Vinyati Nonad and the Vachi Vinyati Dikad.
Yeah.
Right? Vachi Vinyati Dikad. So in that sense, now we know, right? With just the fact of prajna, we know that we can actually, in that sense, right? I think in that sense, we can actually take all of them. All of them.
When you say all of them, you mean?
Pure octad, bodily intimation nonad, vocal intimation decad, mutability undicad, bodily intimation mutability dodicad, vocal intimation mutability tridecad.
Okay.
All 6 kalapas.
All 6 kalapas. All 6 kalapas, depending, right, on which consciousness. Right? Which consciousness? Meaning, that is to say, everyone, now let us take that, because the same example. Let's take another example. Now, if we take joy and wish, if we take joy and wish, desire, right? Now, desire, although the desire exists in all 12 akusalas. I'm sorry, in all 10 akusalas excluding delusion, right? Desire exists. Now see, desire exists in all of the kusalas and the meditation. Without the desire to meditate, you won't meditate, right? You get what I mean, right? So that would say, now, if you're coming into the meditation just to sort of protect face, for example, you're just doing it because all your friends are there and you don't want them to talk bad behind your back, for example, let us say, or let us say the harmdru, you don't want the harmdru to think that anything wrong of you, so you come for the meditation, right? So now the true desire is not there. The desire can arise. Desire can arise. However, in the beginning, the desire is not there, right? Properly. So what would happen? With desire is not there, then you can't perform these great wholesome consciousnesses. See? Right? So even when you're pushing kids to sort of like do kusala and stuff like that, it's best to sort of show with example and understanding, slowly. You know what I mean? because desire, without desire, you can't perform those actions. Yeah. So there you see, right? So in that sense also, now all the desire, wish is there. Remember, just because wish is there, you must also realize, okay, where does wish exist? If it is in the first greed-rooted chitta, then that wish is different to that wish that arises in the great wholesome. That composition is different. Do you understand? That the complex is different. Is that clear, everyone? Right? So just because wish is there, do not just blatantly take it, okay, wish. Remember, the action is driven by desire. The action is driven by desire, right? Sometimes we do kusalas. Logically, it's impossible. Let us say we take over a khatina, we don't really have the money for it, right? So that most probably is desire. Or sometimes it can even be virya. Right? The virya. So then you get your friends together, all of these things, you get a group together and all of that, and somehow you do it. But, somehow you do it. Now you see the complex, it varies. However, the driving force of that mind at that moment can be virya, can be desire, can be prajna. Mam meka karanne mang meke benefits done hinda. Right? So something like that. Do you get what I mean? So I believe we can take all six. All six. Right? Pure octad, bodily intimation onad, vocal intimation decad, mutability undecad, bodily intimation mutability dodecad, vocal intimation mutability tridecad. All six. Right? Now, back to our chart. Additionality. Right. Now, is that clear? We have just finished predominance. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, Bhante.
Any questions? Everyone, you're okay? Is predominance condition clear then? Yeah. That is then Aramana Adipati and Sahajata Adipati. Right? In Sahajata Adipati, within the consciousness, what are the mental states that take predominance? In Aramana Adipati, object predominance, the object takes predominance over the mind. Right? Tempering a situation where the mind is saturated by this object that has now appeared. Do you understand? Is that clear? Yeah. Sahajata Adipati, in Sahajata Adipati, the mind is led by the predominant condition. Do you understand? The mind is led by the predominant condition. Got it? Is that clear? Okay. Wonderful. Now, that is it for today, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow morning for the meditation. Bank holiday weekend, no classes, right? Bank holiday weekend. That is the last weekend of this month, just for you to know. So if you want to make any plans and all of that, there will be no classes, bank holiday weekend.
That's not next Monday, Monday after, Bhante.
The Monday after, right? No classes, bank holiday weekend. So have a good rest, everyone. And I will see you all tomorrow morning for meditation. Teruvan Saranai, and take care.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Teruvan Saranai.